Hello, everybody. Happy Monday, first month of November. Sorry about last week. Totally forgot, and it was all my fault. So on that one, I'll take the L on that. But if you want to go check out from the Blue Seats, I was actually on there with Jimmy. He interviewed me last week. It was good stuff. Always good catching up with our guy Jimmy, and it's always good to see Neil, like usual. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. Recovering a little bit from a tiny sickness. I'm going to call it a cold. I don't even know really what I've been dealing with.
Right.
I'm not even congested. It was just like you just got like sludge. And that's all. That's the way I describe it. I just want to say really quickly, I never can get over like the clip from our intro of just like the two fans with like their
Oh, I
their
know.
shirts
I
over
know.
their head, like doing that to Oninger. I can't get over that. How funny that is to me.
That'll
Um,
never get old.
no, that will never get old. And but other than that, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Nice.
Just continuing to move in stuff. Still a work in progress. So I'm sorry that it looks like crap behind me. I could have blurred myself, but it's fine.
Okay, it's the aesthetic.
It's
All about the
it's
aesthetic.
aesthetically pleasing to everybody.
It is. I know I told you before we jumped on that I got a flu shot, and like I'm like
Your
constantly moving
arm
my
is like
arm,
dead.
but I was just driving over to my appointment, and I'm like, crap, I got hockey tonight, so I'm just trying to like, I don't want it to like not bruise, but like if it's sore, you know what I mean? And then I'm like, oh my god, like don't do this to me now.
Might have to put
Oh
you.
boy,
Might have to list you as day to day.
maybe,
An upper
maybe.
body injury.
We got a lot to get into today. I hope you're comfortable. We got a lot of stuff to
I'm
chat
ready.
about. Our last two games we're
Good
going to
chat.
chat about, and the reason why we're going to chat about Thursday is because I was actually at the game on Thursday, which we'll get into. Going to talk about Parak, going to talk about Kadri a little bit as well too. What the week looks like coming up. First and foremost, though, I'm so sorry to Blue Jay fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a heartbreak. So we were all like, you could tell, like, for the teams, not only the teams of Toronto, but I mean, McDavid was saying it the other night. He's like, during our game against, I can't remember who they were playing. I think it was Chicago who was in town. Um, they had the game on, and he was admittingly on the bench, like, I was not paying attention to our game. I was watching the game on the bench. I think everybody else could say the same thing, right? As Neil has a beautiful Springer jersey out there. Love it. That's sick.
Yep.
That's clean, actually,
I
too.
got this three no 4 years ago. Like the first
Nice.
year that Springer was on the Blue Jays. I got this when I was up
Sweet.
in Toronto. I just want to say really quickly at the Rogers Center, I hope they fixed how the hot dogs taste because whatever I had like 4 years ago was absolutely 1000% horrible
Yeah,
and
it's not good.
disgusting.
Mm-mm. That's why they do Looney Tuesdays, and they have to get rid of them because they're not
Right, because
good.
nobody buys them.
Well, they buy them, but they also don't think it's great. Anyway,
Right.
um, yeah, bit of a heartbreak there on Saturday night. I don't know. I mean, you can look at a number of things. Like they had millions of opportunities to win. You got to tip your hat to the Dodgers, though. Like they were
Right.
relentless, right? And that's it. But
Yeah.
like, not to drag on this conversation too long because we are a hockey show. I just hope that they can look back on this season and be like, what a crazy, unbelievable year for the Blue Jays. You know, like
Right.
something that nobody expected. And you have they and mind you too, they had to have so many things go right for them that in the end, the one time it goes wrong ultimately is in the biggest moment. And it
Sure.
just so happened to be, if we talk about it there, it was more than likely in the bottom, or excuse me, in the top of the ninth there with Jeff Hoffman. I appreciate him shouldering the blame. I do. It's not on him. It's frankly not on any individual. It's a collective team at the end of the day, and you got to find a way to shut the
Right.
door. And they just weren't able to do it. So, congratulations to the Dodgers. They absolutely deserve it. Heartbreak for the Blue Jays, but I hope that they can look back and celebrate what was a fantastic year because we don't get to see this often. Being from Canada and seeing this happen, and it was just a thrill to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, no, it was a phenomenal year for them. I mean, they really, you think about just really quickly, you think about where they were in early June. They were really
You're a
struggling.
500 ball club in
Right.
June.
And then
Yeah,
I remember they had that big series, that big 4 game series at home against the Yankees, and they swept them, and that propelled them from that point on. They were raring and ready to go. And then they
yeah,
beat the Yankees in the divisional series. They had a phenomenal 7 game set with the Seattle Mariners. That was great. And
and
I think it's still impressive that they walked out of LA taking 2 out of 3,
yeah.
especially after losing the 18 inning game number 3. That could have easily, kind of knocked out their energy, but they came back fighting. And Yeah, I mean, you're going to look back on the series and you're not going to point the finger at anybody specifically. At the end of the day, the Dodgers just got the timely plays when they needed them, and that was simply what it came down to. And you think
Yep.
about that bottom of the ninth, right? And Rojas, who had just tied the game on a home run in the top of the ninth, he bobbles that play at first base and makes a throw where I thought at first he was safe, but
But he
apparently
had the
not, and they
yeah,
got him by just the inch. And it's funny you bring up McDavid. I was watching the Devils game. They beat the LA Kings. They were ironically in LA.
right.
And right after the game, it was the bottom of the ninth. At least 5 players stayed on the ice. I think Jack Hughes,
They
Dawson
wanted to see it. Okay.
Dawson Mercer was the best because he thought the game had just ended right before that play at the plate. So before that, he was like pumping his fist. He thought for sure they had won the game.
Right.
And then they walked back and then they went into the locker room because I guess they thought the game was over. But they said that he was out. They reviewed it and they saw that he was out. But it was funny. I have a funny clip of Dawson Mercer's like fist pump after
Right.
that. But yeah, I mean, they even asked like Sheldon Keefe after the game about it.
Of course.
By that time, the Dodgers had ultimately taken the lead and
Yeah.
won the game. But no, it was just funny. And I think what was really great was just seeing the collectiveness that the entire like Canadian fan base came together. Even the reporters, I mean, hockey reporters, right? Just like Pierre LeBrun, not talking about hockey for days, just talking specifically about the Blue Jays. Elliot Friedman, same thing. Darren Dreger. I mean, it was really fun to kind of just see that and see how much the Blue Jays meant to not just Toronto, but to the entire country of Canada.
Yeah.
It was really great to see. And it was unfortunate that they were not able to get it done, ultimately losing game 7 at home. But you got to tip your cap to both teams for a phenomenal World Series. And all you can do for the Blue Jays is just hope that they can build upon this, make it not a fluke, and go from there. And, we'll see.
I'm confident because you've got Vladimir for the next 14 years. And if that's the type of stuff you're going to get out of him in the postseason now, like that felt like a coming out party. And like, you just got to build around your team now, right? With Guerrero and Bichette. And if you just keep building around that team, things are going to fall through and you have a good payroll. You can pay some guys. I think they're going to have many chances going forward where, they've established something now. And, sure, didn't go your way here at the end of it all. But you can look back at so many things and be like, damn, like we were a special team. And, a lot of the guys admittedly too, even Shane Bieber, who came here at the deadline, was like, I think he might stay a Blue Jay, but that's a whole other story.
I think there's a chance. And I would like to say that I think the Blue Jays should absolutely go after Kyle Tucker when free agency begins because I think he would fit in really well.
Yeah, they're gonna be really aggressive now. They're gonna be very aggressive.
Oh yeah,
first order of business is Bichette is coming back. That's my hot take. I don't think he leaves. I think they find a way to keep him.
I agree.
But we'll see what happens in the offseason. Overall, great stuff. Congrats to the Dodgers. Congrats to the Blue Jays. Great World Series. And we hope we get that kind of baseball moving forward because maybe it gets people like me more interested. So, didn't watch a lot of the playoffs this year. Speaking of which, this team might not be in the playoffs this year, and that'll be your Calgary Flames. So let's backtrack all the way to Thursday, where we will start. We actually had 3 games that we're going to chat about here. So we're going to start with our game on Thursday. Why, you may ask? Well, I was in attendance for this game on Thursday as Jake Sanderson ended up tying it late in the game after the Flames took a 3-2 lead. Ultimately went to overtime. The Senators actually had a power play in overtime. Devin Cooley came in over Dustin Wolf. Huska just found that something wasn't working with Dustin. He was just letting some muffins go in, and all of a sudden Devin Cooley comes in, and my mistake. Cooley had the net that night as the backup.
Yeah.
My bad. My mistake. Cooley was sensational Thursday night. I have to give him a lot of props. He was really, really good on Thursday. But you kept giving him life and you brought him back in it, and the Senators win it in overtime 4-3. So few things I'll say about this game. Really fun. It was a great atmosphere to be a part of, and then just to be a little bit more invested into the game while I was there. Really ugly game for both teams. The Senators were taking a lot of penalties early on in that game. I can scroll down afterwards and look at the stats. A lot of early penalties for the Senators gave the Flames early chances there. Sharon Govich had a great shot on net that led to a goal. Coronado with a dirty garbage goal in front of the net as well, too, to help with that. so there was like in the first period, it was all Flames just because the Senators kept kicking themselves in the foot. And then I found in the second period, although nothing ended up happening, and then going into the third, the one thing that kept pissing me off this whole game with this team is that they try to be so cute with these spinorama backhand passes, led to turnovers on 2 or 3 separate occasions, excuse me, and it led to the Senators scoring, I believe, twice on plays that you just kind of sit there and you're like, what the heck was that? Like, you have full possession in their offensive zone and you gave them life going down the other way and they score, and there's nothing that
Right.
Devin Cooley can really do about it. So that for me was just really frustrating. Like, not the results. Like, it's a shootout at the end of the day. Anything can happen. I actually had the Senators winning in overtime in a shootout anyway because nobody can score on this Flames team. Um, it was exciting though. It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun, right? I don't think I should be wearing Flames jerseys though in away arenas anymore because people can be mean. So like I sat beside my dad and he was grilling me for most of the game as we were sitting surrounded by a sea of Senators fans, of course. So I had to eat my bread leaving the arena tonight. But the other side of the coin was also you guys needed to win this one. And you can't lose to us the way
Right.
we've been playing. So yeah, that was just my quick takes on it. Not sure if you saw any of the highlights or not. I'll scroll down and check the stats afterwards, but those were just my 2 cents of being at the game, and it was a lot of fun. Neil, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I really liked what I saw from Cooley in this one. I'm hopeful that he could kind of build upon it, get some couple more good performances. I mean, ultimately, again, the Flames' biggest problem is scoring, right? And Cooley can only do so much to kind of keep the Flames where they needed to be. It would have been nice to see them continue to kind of play the way that they played in that first period because I felt like that they were really establishing a lot. I thought they were being aggressive. It was important for them to get going kind of right away. I like that. I like that Sharon Govich finally is able to find the back of the net. I think he's starting to slowly get a bit more consistent, especially since he was called out a couple weeks ago. That we talked about it. Um, I think that's important. I was surprised, not by I was surprised that Coronado got benched for a game, and then ultimately he took that benching and motivated himself to getting himself having a pretty strong game in his own right. I thought Kadri's goal was pretty impressive. That was just a nice passing play that led to that goal. Really nice. And yeah, getting that game to overtime, I thought was important for the team just to you want to take baby steps, right? With a team that's struggling to win a lot of games and ultimately trying to score goals. You gotta start finding ways to maybe even just steal some points. And I think them getting a point in this one, despite everything, I thought was important for them. Would have liked to see Devin Cooley get that win because again, I thought he played really well, made a couple of big time saves. And yeah, those are kind of the things that I stood at. I saw from that one, and power play showed promise, I think, in that game.
Yeah, actually the power play was very efficient. I like that at least early on in the first period they were very they were very efficient in terms of just like 1-2 boom, like we're not fooling around here. We got to just start finding some ways to get some more shots on net here.
Right.
They were outshot in this game completely and ultimately it came down to the third period here. They got massacred in the face-off zone. Shocker. It was the same type of stuff that we saw last year too. Both teams though, again, early, it was more or less early on in the game. But the Flames had, I think, 3 power plays in the first period alone, and they
Right.
capitalized on 2 of them. One from Sharon Govich, and then the other one from Coronado to end the first period 2-1. So, and then on the other side of the coin, like your penalty kill was good. Farabee playing penalty kill was great. I thought he was really good there on Thursday night. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you led 3-2 with about 10 minutes left here. And all of a sudden I go, okay, I'm going to watch. I know what they do at this point, right? I know you're not you're not a Flames fan as much as I am, but I'm just watching this and I go, okay, now they're going to sit back defensively and pray to the gods that a puck doesn't go in the net. And what
I've
happens? Jake
yeah,
Sanderson scored.
I've seen that kind of play before from teams. I mean, I've seen the Devils do that exact kind of thing in the past, and I know how frustrating that could be as a fan. You have such a strong first period, and then you get away from what made it successful, and you go back and basically, and I'll use a soccer term here, park the bus,
Right.
and just basically play defense and pray that you don't give up a goal. To me personally, that's an indication of you're playing not to lose as opposed to playing to win.
So that's the way the cookie crumbles. And yeah. Anyway, overall, it was still a fun night though. I was telling Neil beforehand, like I don't get a lot of treats to a lot of NHL games this year just based on location. It's my own fault. But it's nice to go down, and I might go to another Senators game this year actually because it's actually not too far from myself where we live, and that fact that I have family down in Ottawa. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Great job for Sens fans for turning out, and really made it a fun night, and makes me want to go back and move your goddamn arena because it's still in a terrible location. So
I've only heard things. I mean I've watched videos on like how bad it is, which is like nuts.
Yeah, like getting out.
Happening.
So getting out of the arena, we thought it wouldn't be too bad afterwards, and I've done it once or twice. I just can't fully remember, but it's the fact that it's just you have a set of lights here, you have a set of lights here, and it shouldn't be like they all should be like honest to God roundabouts at this point, and it needs to be that way because you're stopping the flow of traffic all of a sudden. It's
Right.
just like get everybody moving here, and the cops weren't really helping out either. So to find the fact that you're basically in the middle of a field and you're still having problem people getting out, I think it's time to maybe switch things up here.
For sure.
So
For sure.
anyway, yeah, great Thursday night. Love to do it again, and yeah, good stuff, Ottawa. Okay, so back-to-back games Saturday and Sunday real quick. We'll get into Saturday. Didn't start off great there, obviously against the Nashville Predators. Slightly kind of clawed back a little bit there, but ultimately it was way too little, too late as the Predators were flying there, especially Michael Bunting, who collected 3 points in the first period. Flames outshot in this one. They looked like the better team in the latter half, but again, you go down 3-0 in the first period. You're not going to find a lot of ways to win, as the Predators ended up winning it 4-2. Dustin Wolf didn't look fantastic despite the Flames doing a little bit more offensively. They were much better there in the face-off zone. But on the other side of the coin, what also doesn't help is what we said about Ottawa on Thursday night happened in Nashville on Saturday night, but the Flames gave away 4 penalties and Nashville converted on 1. And, you just can't do that because you're not going to have a lot of time, to control the game from there. So, yeah, that's the way the cookie crumbles there in that one. And what were your thoughts as Nashville took that one 4-2?
This team really struggles to start on time. There's no doubt about that. It's not just this game. It's been numerous times this year. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a mindset. It's the way that if it's a struggle to kind of get into your game right away. But even if you're on the road, you need to start on time. You need to find a way. And you know what? Nashville, are they better than what they were last year? For sure. They're much better than where they were last year. But at the same time, this is still a game that you could ultimately end up being in, right? This is not one where I think that it was, you really, really got outplayed. I mean, it was that first period that killed you. Because at the end of the day, after that, you ended up outscoring them and outplaying them, all things considered. But, again, you can't dig yourself that kind of a hole right away because it doesn't happen very often where you find a way to ultimately come back and win the game. Just doesn't happen. You can't play that kind of, you just can't play that kind of hockey. And I think that's the most frustrating thing is that you feel like in the first 10, 15 minutes, even if you're not giving up goals, them just looking sluggish is what's upsetting. And like, it just, I don't know if it's a coaching thing or not. And the other thing that I'll say is this. I know that Dustin Wolf has had times this year where there are goals that he definitely would like to have back. I think also there's a lack of like solid, like, pressure in front of him. I think what I'm seeing, and what I mean by that is, let me clarify. I don't think at times the back end is doing enough to help Dustin Wolf at times. I think there's times where there's just massive defensive breakdowns. I think about that. I think about the Jonathan Marchessault goal that made it 3-0. I know it was on the power play, but still, like, it feels like to me that guys are not always going after and blocking a shot or getting more traffic where there's a less likely chance that it's going to find itself towards the front of the net. So, and so I think it's a combination of Wolf not playing at the level that he's capable of, but also not getting the help that he certainly needs. And I don't like seeing you give up 4 goals. Granted, one of them was an empty netter, but 4 goals on 24 shots just doesn't, that's not a good look. especially
Well,
when
they ended up pulling him after 3 goals after the first, and they threw in Devin Cooley, and he actually, again, for the second time, for the most part, he shut the door, and I
sure,
give him a lot of credit for
yeah,
Devin Cooley for coming into a bad team and playing the way that he has. He stepped up again and played well. So I don't want to shoulder
again the
all the blame
defensive
because
breakdown.
it's the defensive breakdowns, and I mean
There were still defensive breakdowns even when Cooley was in the game.
right, and I don't want to
Especially with
shoulder
Cooley.
all of the blame on Wolf because I don't think Uyghur, even watching the game on Thursday, like I don't think Uyghur or Anderson's trade value is going way down.
Dude, he might go for like a 5th-round pick right now. The way this is
It's the
going.
way he's playing is
We're in
alarming how bad he's playing.
we're in some trouble right now.
And it's like maybe you should have traded him last year if this is what you were considering because
Yep.
you're not going to get anything back from him at this point, which is alarming. But, is it the end of the world? No, because at least you have Zane who's coming up here, right?
Yay.
Speaking of which, let's get into that first. Actually, before anything, everybody take a breather. Let's relax here. Let's get into a first commercial break here. We'll come back on the other side here. We'll talk Zane Parak. We'll talk about the game that happened last night, and we'll roll on from there. As the NBA financial season tips off, and so does DraftKings' newest fantasy game. It's DraftKings Pick 6. It's the easiest way to play for big wins with every possession giving you a shot at real money, and here's how to play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more stats and unlock the upside of every game brings. Pick 6 is available in Texas, California, Missouri, and more. New DraftKings customers can get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry on your first pick set. Don't just watch basketball and hockey. Cash in now. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN to play just $5 and just get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call. Ride the upside in partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. And gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER with help is available. For problem gambling, you can call 888-787-8977 or visit ccpg.org. In Connecticut, must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer bonus award as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expired 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms pick6.com/DraftKings. Okay, let's get to the biggest story of the weekend for the Calgary Flames was Zane Parak. The decision looming of what do you now do with this guy? He was at gain number 9, and if you threw him in for number 10, you will then burn the first year of his entry-level deal. Conroy said it yesterday after the game, which we'll get into, that him sending him back to junior was just not an option. So what ended up happening? Zane was available Sunday night against the Philadelphia Flyers, in which case he was a full participant. So it was a very kind of last minute decision. He was expected to play. He did end up playing last night. But there was it kind of just came down to the last second here, and we're like, what are we doing here? So my question for you is, Neil, did they make the right decision by keeping him in for the 10th game and burning his first year under his ELC?
It's a tough question, but I'm going to say no. I don't think they made the right decision. I think that, especially
we're about to have a conversation. Let's
yeah,
go.
I get it, especially with like how the year has gone so far. You want to have as much flexibility, especially with your young players, as you possibly can. I know that this is like it's so interesting because I think about when the Devils brought up Luke Hughes, literally at the end of the 2022-23 season, which ultimately ended up burning his first year of his ELC. Mm-hmm. Instead of having 3 years, he only had 2 going into his first full year in 23-24. Ultimately, that I think that kind of worked out for the Devils. In terms of St. Parak, I mean, yeah, like he's shown a lot of promise, and I'm really excited about going there. I just think that it would have been better to hold on to that extra year, but I also get where they're coming from in terms of that. I will say the one thing that I didn't like out of everything is what you brought up. Waiting till the last second to make this call. I feel like this should have been determined sooner, or it should have been a decision sooner. But nonetheless, I will stand by. I think they should have let him. They should not have let him play that 10th game and save that save that year of ELC.
So
But that
so to clarify, you would have sent him back to junior.
correct. I would have personally, even though that I think that he's far and away, and that's the problem, right? Because the other thing is that I wish in a perfect world they could have been able to send him down to the Wranglers because it's still like pro hockey, this and the other thing. I get it because he probably would have continued to dominate junior hockey if he had gone back down to juniors. Um, I just, in a year where I don't really know what the plan is moving forward with how difficult the year has been so far, I don't know if it's fully smart in terms of the development in to keep him up with the team with where they are. But that's me. So
So I'm on the opposite end.
I figured that.
You can't you cannot send this guy back to junior because I think you end up hurting the relationship if you send him back there because he's going to be pissed off and he'll go, well, fuck, like I've already done so well. I've dominated junior for the last 2 years. I
Right.
don't think I need to be sent back there. And I also don't feel like riding 8 hours on a bus if I have to go from Saginaw all the way up to Sudbury again. I think he's at a point where
Is it really
I
that
don't
long
get
of travel? That's
it's
horrible.
probably like 10 hours to be honest.
That's horrible. On a
It's
butt,
awful.
that's horrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
Jeez.
So as much as I don't love burning the first year of his deal of his ELC, I'd rather see him play with the Wranglers. Look at what Gritton's doing down there for the
Right.
Wranglers right now. I think you need to burn it and just bring him down to the Wranglers and be like, don't think this is a demotion. Like, go light this up. Like this is the next level, right? That's what ultimately it should be. So burn it because the kid's only 19 years old, for God's sakes, right? Playing in the NHL. Send him down there. I don't even care if they throw Jake Bean out there at this point. I don't want to see him on this team next year again. I swear to God, Craig, I don't want to see Jake Bean next year. I watched him Thursday night, and he was pissing me off more than anybody on that team. So, but no, like to just get his 10th game in. But now I'm just like, just put him down with the Wranglers. Put him down there. Like it's fine. Like go let him play with Grit and go. Like there's a lot of young guys down there. Honzik, yeah, he's playing up here a little bit. I get it, but for some of these really, really young kids like Matt Vigridin and Perek, who were both drafted in the same year, go play a year down there. By the way, since Matt Vigridin went down to the AHL, he now leads the league in points in
He didn't start
the
the
AHL.
year down there.
The Wranglers have just won 6 in a row. So, kind of doing pretty good down there
Might have a
prospect
wagon
wise.
down there.
Might have a pretty good wagon down in the AHL system.
And you add
right
Zane if you can add Zane
You add Zane Perek, that team might win the Calder this year.
They might. They might.
That might be the thing to watch this year for Flames fans. Might
Yeah.
be the Wranglers. But like that should be the next step, right? Go play a year down there, and if there's certain nights where let's just say he does really well. Okay, great. Now let's just bring him into the fold here, right? Because eventually you are going to have to do that, right? So I just don't love hurting his confidence early on, but getting this necessary experience 10 games in is fine for me. Go down, burn it a year, and whatever. If we have 2 years of him under this ELC, fine. The kid's 19 years old, so I don't really care. But yeah, I don't quite understand putting him back in junior.
Yeah. I wish you could send him to the Wranglers without burning that ELC in a perfect world. But that's me. I know you can't, obviously. Yeah, I think that ultimately it's not a knock on him to have him get sent down to the I was going to say the Hitmen, wrong team, Wranglers.
Close.
I'm thinking of Hitmen. I don't even know how the Hitmen are doing this year. I hadn't checked recently.
No
The Wranglers, just because it would be an opportunity for him to play for, and again, this is going to sound disrespectful, but like a winning team, again, 6 in a row for the Wranglers and get that confidence up.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree that I don't think he would see it as much of a disrespect if he were to get sent down there, especially with, again, where the season is going. Again, I am just a sucker for keeping as much of that low cap hit, ELC control as you can. But I also ultimately get as well the danger of throwing that disrespect. So that's why I was saying it's such a tough decision because you have to walk such a fine line with this kind of thing. So, I mean, now it doesn't really matter because now you've ultimately made that decision. I'm just curious to know if and when Zane Prek is going to end up going down to the Wranglers, if at all in the situation.
Well, like for me, like I would rather him come back when he can play with some of the bigger names. Once Anderson is gone, like I want to just that's where I want to see him play with guys like
Sure,
Kevin Ball. That's where I want to
sure.
see him play with even Joel Hanley, right? Where they actually did pair him up at one point. I don't want to see Zane Prek paired up with fucking Jake Bean. You're not helping him, right?
Nope.
You're not helping him at all. Go stick him there with a defensive defenseman in Kevin Ball and get him the offensive opportunities because that's who he is. So, anyway, he was in the lineup Sunday night, and guess what? They won. Great.
Coincidence?
Huberdeau ended up scoring twice. Flames edged the Flyers there 2-1. They end this skid at 3. Felt like a lot much longer than that, and we all probably know that as well too. But they ended up finding a way to win in Philadelphia. I believe Daniel Vladar was not in net. I'm trying to see. I can't recall if he was.
He was not.
He was not.
He was
Okay,
not,
so
I
he was
remember
not
the
in
other
net.
guy's
Thank you.
name. Yeah.
Anyway, so Jonathan Huberdeau scored twice. Ended up being enough. One in the second, one in the third. Ended up leading 2-0, and that's all it took. This was a bit of a snooze fest if you were looking for offense because they had 21 shots to 18 against Philly, and Philly didn't do a whole lot as Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee made their first return to Philadelphia in Flames uniform. Face-off percentage went the Flames' way that time. Barely, they only gave up the one power play there for Philadelphia. They ended up shutting the door on them. But overall, I mean, that's the way we're going to see it all year. Is just like the way you want to see this team's going to win is going to be low scoring opportunities. And this just happens to be one of those games against a team that not a lot of people think highly of anyway in the first place. So, great for Huberdeau. Just looking at the guys who ended up scoring, getting on the stat sheet there. Sharon Govich, he's got points now.
It was
Sharon
one guy.
Sharon Govich now, who scored on Thursday, potted an assist last night. So good for him. We are getting an assist as well too. So, it was good for him, but I don't really personally take away a lot of positives from this. Even with the win, the Flames still finished or still in dead last in the NHL right now. It's a game you should win, I guess, because the Flyers aren't also playing very well. By the way, all the Eastern teams have an above 500 record.
Yeah, not nuts.
Weird, right?
I think this is the most parity the Eastern Conference has had in quite some time in terms of just.
Yeah, and I think if I'm not mistaken, the Flyers are also last in the East, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so
the Islanders
don't
have
think of
rattled
this
off a couple of big wins.
So I don't really see this as a hoorah moment because yes, Philadelphia, 6-5-1, and you're last place in the Eastern Conference.
And you know what Kyle, I don't know if you realize there was some controversy in last night's game for the Flyers. It had nothing to do with Calgary. Do you know how many minutes Matvey Michkov played last night?
I do not. How many?
6.5.
Ooh.
He has continued to play very little minutes with the Flyers. I don't know what exactly is going on. It reminds me so much of like when Michkov got drafted, there was a lot of questions about like how long would it take him to get acclimated into the NHL. Sure. I think that was the same thing with Demidov. And both of those guys have gone in different directions. Demidov obviously being really damn good. I mean, he's really good. I think Michkov can be very good in this league. I think the problem is just, in my opinion, with both where John Tortorella was coaching him and now where Rick Tocchet is coaching him. I don't think they're giving him enough opportunities to play, top line minutes. I think that it's like he makes.
Look who they pair him up with too. When you look at Demidov and Michkov,
exactly
right.
And I think a big problem is that it ultimately comes down to I think what you're asking him to do is out of character for him because
too much.
He's not a 200-foot player, in my opinion. He's a bona fide goal scorer, and that's what his big thing is. Same thing with Demidov, except the difference is Martin St. Louis got him playing top line minutes, and look at what he's doing. He's playing out of his mind.
Boy, if for some reason Matvei Michkov's stock drops,
Dude, they're already talking about it. Dude, they are already talking about it. They're already talking about what the future holds for Matvei Michkov, especially if we get to this deadline and he's still barely playing at that level. Because at that point, you got to say to yourself, are the Flyers got to piss or get off the pot with Michkov?
I smell an investment opportunity.
Yeah, we trade. No, this is even better. We trade Anderson to the Flyers for Matvei Michkov. I think that would be
smell an investment.
But ultimately, yeah, you're right. It was a snooze fest in this one. Flyers actually threw out a rookie goaltender in Kolosov, and he played well.
Right.
He played well, ultimately giving him only 2 goals. That second goal that Huberdeau scored should probably have that one back. I think that should have been stopped from as far as it was. It even surprised Huberdeau that it ultimately went in, because to me, that was a simple case of you're kind of somewhat changing lines there. You want to just throw the puck on net,
right?
And it ultimately goes in. And it also ends up being the game-winning goal. So, not ideal. But again, like you said, you're playing one of the bottom feeders of a very, parity-wise Eastern Conference. But still, last place team. Does it feel that good? No. But again, you went on the road. It's important. Go from there.
And that's just kind of the attitude I think we're all taking going forward. So, schedule going forward for this week until we all meet again next Monday. I'm not saying this is the end of the show. I'm just giving you guys
till we all meet again.
Yeah, we're done.
we're actually
so the Flames are going to be at home on Wednesday. Now they have a couple days off until they face the Blue Jackets. They're going to be at home Friday against the Blackhawks, and then next Sunday in Minnesota before they take on St. Louis. Both those teams, Minnesota, St. Louis, slow starts. Very slow starts to the year.
I think there's more concern in St. Louis than it is in Calgary, personally.
Yeah,
personally.
Fair. Oh, well, the one thing we didn't talk about, by the way, in Nashville, I think it was Mason Marchment who might have piped up and caught on the hot mic, went, "You guys are an embarrassment. You're an effing joke." And I go,
that was wild.
"Yep,
that was wild."
Salute to you on that one, my friend. You're not wrong. So
I don't think it was Marchment. Marchment's on Seattle.
Or sorry, not Marchment. Who am I thinking?
Marchessault.
My God.
Yeah, I was like Mason Marchment in Seattle. Unless he got traded again.
Thank you.
And I don't remember.
Thank you.
You know, I'll just say this. You know what irritates me is that I'll just be honest. I don't think the talent difference is a lot between Seattle and Calgary. And why is Calgary figuring it out? Slowly but surely.
They will. And like,
I feel like we've had so many teams this year that have got off to really surprising starts, right? Like Pittsburgh, it's literally right there, tied with the Devils for first in the Metro. The Habs, not as much of a surprise because we know how good they are, so they're taking that next step. Utah's coming out the gate, very strong. They have still yet to lose a game at home since they
Ducks 7-3-1.
Ducks, damn dude, like it.
But we saw this last year, right? With some teams who just flew out of the gate, right? Teams fly out of the gate, and it's a long road, man.
And especially this year with how much more, because think about the amount of guys that are going to go play in the Olympics.
Yep.
Like it's going to be a long
season, guys. We're only in November. Only started November. Long way to go.
Oh yeah, we're literally in the beginning of November. So
exactly. So that's on the docket for this week. First up will be at home Wednesday as they host the Blue Jackets, and then at home Friday as they take on the Blackhawks.
It's going to be a challenge for Calgary, especially with the Blue Jackets coming off. I don't know if you saw the way that they lost to the Islanders. Giving up 2 goals in the last minute of the game to
Whereas Lincolns was on the bench afterwards after the game and no gear and was crying almost. Like he was like so upset about that. But it tells you how much he cares.
He's got to get out of there. That's my opinion personally, because he's been there long enough to the point of like, I think he's ultimately frustrated because I think right now you kind of wonder if Columbus is taking a step back from where they were last year.
Yeah, it's possible.
But again, like you said, we're only 11, 12 games into the season. We're only beginning the second month of the year. A lot of hockey left to play.
A lot of hockey.
Including
all right, we'll be back on the other side here. Quick commercial break here. We'll talk a little bit more about Kadri as his name kept popping up and other news.
Some insight on Kadri as well.
Neil's going to have some insight on Kadri. We'll talk about Kadri and more news as we head into this first week of November. Be back after the break. The holidays are here, and that means it's the most wonderful time of the year to save with Rakuten. Use Rakuten to stack cash back at your favorite stores on top of holiday sales. That's savings on savings. And with Rakuten, you can get cash back on gifts for everyone on your list, from toys for the kids to kitchen gear for the person who loves to cook, to electronics for everyone, and you can even save on something for yourself. Just shop the stores that you love, and cash back is automatically added to your account. And you can choose to get paid via Interact e-transfer, PayPal, or checking. Join for free today and get a new member bonus after minimum qualifying purchases. Just go to Rakuten.ca, download the app, or install the browser extension, guys. That's Rakuten with an Rakuten for Rakuten. Terms and conditions apply. Alrighty. What?
I didn't realize that was going to be a pre-recorded thing. I thought you were.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I
that's
was
what
like,
caught me off guard. I was
yeah.
like, damn, the transition.
I didn't feel it. Just
also, I
just
couldn't
easier.
stop staring at the Wii that's right behind you. I couldn't.
That thing's been treasured since 2008, my friend.
Dude, if you have a Wii nowadays, like,
Oh yeah, I still play it.
Oh yeah, me too.
Oh yeah, Wii Party.
Wii Sports is my shit.
Wii Sports Resort is my shit.
Did you ever play the NHL game that they put out? The Gretzky one, you know. You definitely have it with.
Hold on 1 second, folks.
Yeah, he definitely. Yeah, there it is. Yep. You know what? I just want to say the career mode with like starting from like a midget to like the NHL, I thought was a genius. I absolutely loved it. I loved playing on the frozen ponds. I love it.
It doesn't get better than career mode in NHL Slapshot. They nailed it. Me lighting it up in juniors, getting drafted, and then playing 5 games, and they're like, "Nope, you're going to the."
I remember getting drafted.
Going to the Phantoms in Lehigh Valley.
Yeah. I remember getting drafted #1 overall in junior by the Sudbury Wolves. I'll never forget being drafted by Sudbury, and I was like, "Huh, okay."
You're like, "What's this?" There was a guy.
I was like, "Where the hell?" I remember typing on my computer, "Where the hell is Sudbury?"
Oh yeah,
and I had to look it up, and I was like, "This is a small town."
No, it's got 150,000 people.
Oh, okay. So that's actually pretty big. All right, fair
big
enough.
Compared to if you're considering small towns being like 20, 30,000, it's pretty big. It's a city. Yeah. So good stuff with the Wii. Anyway, more news. Let's get into it. So again, Elliot Freeman, I believe it was on his, I think it was last Monday, but it kind of rolled into the week here a little bit, where is Kadri's name was getting popped up again in trade rumors, and to be honest, it's probably going to continue to happen all the way until the trade deadline. So per Elliot Freeman, this was actually yesterday. He was talking on Saturday, about Nazem Kadri. So real quick, his report was that I think if you're a contender and you can show Kadri you're a contender for years to come, I think he would prioritize that first and foremost. So we've said it a lot, right, about him and his commitment to Calgary, right? You know, you ask him today, it's going to be the same thing as always, guys. Like, it's his commitment to the Flames, it's his commitment to the organization, right? And it's one thing to jump ship early, right, into this 7-year deal, because I believe he's on year 3 of his deal now, 3 or 4. 3, thank you. So it's easy to lose sight of that because, 1 year it just doesn't happen to go well. I mean, you had the first year of his contract, whatever, we won't get into that. But last year with it going so well, like, I more or less just wonder, looking at it from Kadri's perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if you go, okay, like, we all know this year's a wash, right? It's over.
Right.
But you wonder, like, what's more important to you, right? Because you've won a cup, and it's very difficult in this league to do so, right? And I know that there are other teams who could benefit from getting him, like the Carolinas of the world, the Colorados of the world, etc., that can benefit from getting a guy like Kadri. But you wonder, after this year, he's going to have 3 more years, I believe, left on his deal. 4 more years left on his deal afterwards, right? So you kind of sit there and wonder, like, is this something where, like, he had to have understood signing the contract that something like this was a possibility, that one of the years, like, might not go well, right? So all of a sudden, like, I kind of think about it where let me summarize here. I think about it like this, and I think about it with all these teams in the league, right? To clarify and to paint a broader picture. Anytime a team has a down year, right? In this case, it's the Flames, right? Or in this case, it could also be St. Louis, right? Yada, 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 yada. The instant immediate reaction is we are sellers. We got to get rid of our big guys. We got to
Right.
get some big names back. We got to get some high draft picks. We got to get this, 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 and this, whatever,
Right.
right? Okay, fair. They are going to do a little bit of that with Anderson going out the door. You want to be able to capitalize a little bit of whatever's left on that value of that deal. That's here nor there. But I think the big question, and you take it case by case when you look at this team specifically, is it worth selling off big pieces now like a Nazem Kadri? Because there's no guarantee that you go out into the draft coming up here, assuming that this trend continues where they're going to be a bottom 3, bottom 5 team, and they're going to have an opportunity of winning the number 1 overall pick and getting Gavin McKenna. There's no guarantee of that,
No.
right?
No.
I think the way that he's commanded this team and the way he is one of these leaders, right?
Yep.
Like, what's more important to you? Are you going to be a coattail guy, second line center in Carolina, Colorado, whatever? Or can you solidify your career? You've won a cup. You don't have anything really left to prove if you're Kadri, who's getting up there in age. You don't have a lot left to prove, except for the fact that he can still develop into a number 1 center, which maybe he wants to still try to be. I'm not saying that's going to be the case here in Calgary, but I just wonder from his perspective, what is going on through his head with years left to go on his deal. Like, the commitment is there. You had to have known that at some point you're going to have a down year,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Like we are witnessing now. So, with whoever they may get here next year's draft, you just wonder, like, if the value is so high now, do you cash in? But also, you kind of hurt the reputation that you've been trying to build over these years of guys wanting to sign long term for the Calgary Flames when this guy is only halfway through a 7-year deal. There's a lot of moving parts here
Yep.
overall to what I'm trying to say. I'm more or less just curious about what's he thinking about right now? What's important to him?
I think his mentality is kind of similar to that of Anderson, where it's just kind of like you are a Calgary Flame now, and that's going to be your focus. I don't think Kadri wants to think about getting moved if he wants to get moved right now.
It's his
Um,
decision, really.
it is ultimately his decision, right? At the end of the day, I think what's going to ultimately happen is I think Kadri is going to see how the rest of the year goes. And when we get closer to the deadline, I think he might, or maybe even closer than that, sooner than that, get to a point where he can kind of maybe make that decision and then kind of see for himself, okay, do I want to continue to be a part of maybe the solution of getting the Flames where we want them to be ultimately, or do I want to get the opportunity to go back and try to win another cup and go to a team that maybe he can fit in, more with his skill set?
Yeah.
I'll bring up something really interesting, kind of a different perspective from the other side. Um, Dave Pagnotta from the fourth period was on one of the Devils YouTube shows, New Jersey Hockey Now to be specific.
Mm-hmm.
And the host, James Nichols, who actually was on this network for a period of time, he actually asked him about got two specific guys, both on the Flames. One was Nazem Kadri, and the other one was Blake Coleman, interestingly enough,
Right.
as maybe potential guys that the Devils could look to maybe add depth. The Devils are looking for a third line center and looking for, ultimately depth scoring. And both of those guys kind of fit that mold. It really is going to just depend on, the asking price, if there is one right now, which I don't think there probably is. And again, ultimately Kadri's decision about where he wants to ultimately go, if he wants to go. So that is going to be something that is going to be, I think, brought up more and more. And look, we know that guys like Friedman, when they bring this up, they're not just bringing it up for the sake of doing it. They have people that they talk to. They have people that are going to discuss these kind of things. So there probably is some amount of belief that Kadri is ultimately considering his options. And like you said, when he signed this deal, I think he knew that ultimately this was going to be something that was going to be brought up. Now, the one thing that I think is an advantage to the Flames is that with the salary cap going up, him having this deal doesn't ultimately look that bad, and also the term doesn't ultimately look that bad.
Right.
So I think it might be easier for teams to take that, I don't know if you say risk, but like take the opportunity to maybe get somebody like Kadri who can still play at a pretty solid level and score at a pretty solid rate. But again, I personally think it's still too early to really start looking at that and making that decision personally.
The other thing you have to consider here is there's one thing on here that should stand out more than anything else. He's 35 years old. And this deal, right? He's going to be what? Close to 40, if
Close
not
to
40
40.
by the time this deal is done. So do you want to be hanging on to that when you're trying to be competitive for this new arena to come into play?
Right.
So that's the thing. That to me is the fine line here, right? When is it the right time? What if he has a bad year next year? What if he gets 10 goals next year?
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily listen. I think we made a mistake not trading Rasmus last year. I think they needed to because you're starting to see what's happening. And, he is what, 28 years old now or 29 years old, 30, I think. Here, I guess I can answer my own question here. Yeah, he's 29 years old, right?
Right.
When he signs his long-term deal coming up, it's going to evidently be he's going to be 38 years old when that deal's done. And you're already seeing the decline of an Anderson. And dude, like, you're in a contract year, man.
Right.
So what I don't want to happen is I don't want them making the mistake that he's 35 years old. He might have one or two really good cup runs left in him. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe more. Maybe I'm, blowing this out of proportion here. He's got a couple of years maybe still
Yeah.
until the end of his deal, right? By the end of this deal, he's going to retire. Let's be honest here, right? He's going to be close to 40,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So at what point is it a good time then? That's going to be the question. I would like to argue that maybe sooner rather than later is a good time. I think that, with the value of him being so high, it very well could be the right time.
Sure.
So, and how you mold that going forward, you have your pieces kind of set in stone here a little bit, with, a couple of guys left here, at least in the next 2 years, because we know what it's going to be like, at least for the next 2 years to get ready for this new arena, right? They might be really bad next year too, right? And then he might say it's enough is enough, right?
Right.
But if they come back with the same core, well, then what are we doing? Right? Like he's got
Right.
to understand that a little bit. So personally, like, I think his value is higher now this season than it will
Right.
be. The years you go down, the value just gets lower and lower and lower and lower because of his age.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So it's going to be really interesting to watch. The pieces that you see long term here, the Hubertos, the Coronados. I mean, Sharon Govich is doing decent, but at least, like, with him, at least that's still a piece you can move because he only has a 10-team no trade list. So if you really want to get rid of him and you want somebody to eat some cap, like, that's still a possibility, right? Coleman, I think they're going to see it till the end. We've had these conversations before already. I'm hating more and more about Michael Backlund's contract, but whatever. Do you find a way to move Farabee? You want to get off that cap hit. You want to eat it. Somebody else to eat it. Sure.
Right.
Zari with his deal. You still have a lot of the younger guys here. And if you go into the system as I go and scroll all the way down here, Gridden leading the AHL, 19-year-old Jacob Taglia, who lit up the OHL last year, Adar Suniev, like Carter King, I think people need to start recognizing. Basha being 19 years old. A lot of these 19-year-olds are going to start coming up here, man. And
Yeah.
I think you have to make room for that. And you have to start seeing your prospect pool start to shine.
Right.
Last case here. It's a different sport, but maybe it means a lot here. Watching Trey Savage for the Blue Jays' rise in the ranks, maybe it's a sign for a lot of these other sports or leagues to say, you got to give these young guys a chance. It's not going to work in every case, but you got to throw them out there sometimes and see what they can do because they want the spotlight. Well, here you go. So maybe it is the right time to move. I don't know.
Yeah, and look, ultimately at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out with bringing up some of these young guys, I think the attitude you have is that, well, you're no worse off than where you are now.
Right.
And you might as well take that risk. And I get it. A lot of teams and a lot of GMs, they're always concerned about rushing a guy to the league, depending on the player and the situation. But ultimately, like you said, at some point in the very near future, you're going to have to do that. You're
Right.
going to have to take those risks, give these young guys an opportunity, and see where you can go and build around that. Because that's ultimately what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to rebuild this team. You're trying to create that new core that is going to be the beginning of that new era, especially when the new arena comes around in 2 years. So, like, that's ultimately what you have to decide. And I think for someone like Kadri, like you said, I think there's a lot of remorse probably from the Calgary's front office about not moving Anderson sooner, especially with the where his value is right now.
His game, even. Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
you don't want to have that same kind of thing happen with Kadri, especially with the deal that he's on.
Yeah.
So if you got an opportunity to get a decent amount back for someone like that, because with him having term beyond this year, like that will ultimately up the price
You
because
bet.
you want to get something decent in return.
You bet.
And so it's going to be about
You bet.
you
Yeah.
have to probably strike while the iron is hot, essentially.
Last thing I'll say is I think you have to really look at who you're, if you're like, it kind of, it speaks more in today's age that people are starting to slowly realize now is that you really got to look at who you're dealing with from a different organization as a trade partner, right? Who's had a lot of, like, let's take the NFL, for example. Trading with the Eagles, they're going to claim every asset possible, right?
I mean, what do they get? Jair Alexander for nothing, and then they got
Sure.
Phillips for
Phillips, that guy, right?
nothing.
So we experienced that in the past with Vegas, right? Vegas is just known to do this, right?
Right.
Where they acquire their assets, right?
Yep.
It's almost like you have to look around the league at some organizations and go, who's missed on some trades here? Who doesn't have their scouting report done? You know, and maybe that's the bait that you try to use here for some teams that aren't very active in the trade department, right? And maybe would want something like this. And they've missed on some targets before. And you end up acquiring some good prospects here because, you know, I this is just me. Last thing I'll say about this before we move on. I'm getting really tired of these draft picks piling up.
Right. You said this the last episode.
I'm gonna say it every episode. I
No, I
feel
know.
like, I'm getting
We're
tired of
beyond
it.
that point now.
I'm getting so sick and tired of it.
Listen to
So I want to
everything.
start seeing some really good prospects coming into the pool and say, screw the draft picks. We don't need them anymore.
I mean, what if we get Gavin McKenna?
Oh yeah, like this year it's a different.
Like
Like
that's different.
you have your pick. Also, was I right about last year or was I wrong about friggin' wanting to keep this draft pick this year?
Right.
Because look at what happened,
Yep. It's a
fuckers.
good point. Good point. It's a good point. No, no, no.
I
You're right.
was bashing my hand because last year it was like, okay, like if you really want to keep this pick this year, you're gonna lose it next year. The Montreal Canadiens would have the number one pick right now. Think about that.
Yeah.
They're in first place in their
Whoa.
own division, and they would have the number one pick right now. Mind you, the lottery.
It's like the rich get richer, you know?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Let's
stupid.
not. Let's not. Yeah. Let's not.
Yeah. Let's not
Not
think
do that.
about
And I
that.
think that, like, especially with like how the lottery has changed,
Yeah.
I think the Flames have a higher chance of like still like even if they finish in last place, I think they still have a very high chance of getting that pick anyway.
Bro, if they bottomed out in the bottom 10 last year, the Canadians would have had this pick. We only have Vegas's.
Yeah.
Like that
Uh,
needs I was trying to get people like, and you understood too from how many times we talked about it last year. Montreal would have the pick right now
yeah.
if it wasn't for the Flames not
We
bottoming out.
we would be in
We'd be
serious
in
bad
so
sorry.
much trouble. We'd be in
Oh, big
so
time.
much trouble.
Yep, for sure. And that's
And that's
but
why
luckily,
screw Brad
we're not in
Treliving.
that position right now, which is good.
Yes. All right.
We got
Let's get some news around the NHL. A couple of injuries to report, if I'm not mistaken, that's happened recently.
just got one
Um,
today.
We did get one today. Really quick to point out too, Matthew Schaefer, he became the youngest NHL defenseman with multi-goal games, which is
Dude,
crazy.
dude,
So good for him.
he's a superstar in the making, bro.
He
I'm not.
absolutely is. Sorry, you had one to report?
Yeah. Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to be out indefinitely for the Capitals. They don't know the extent of the injury. I think they said they're going to get more imaging done. I think we even posted something on THPN about it today. About it. So, yeah, a guy who got off to a really strong start with the Capitals this year. Looks like the Capitals are going to be shorthanded. It won't matter because the Capitals will just continue to pile up wins because screw us,
That's who they are. Yeah.
That's who they are. They're analytic darling. They're not even analytic darlings. They're like against every analytic stat out there, and they keep winning. Nonetheless, still a bad loss for the Capitals, but that's the big one that I saw today.
Speaking of the Capitals, they sent Cal Rosen to the St. Louis Blues. So that was our first official trade of the new season, as Cal Rosen's going back to St. Louis. Sure, I guess they need help defensively a little bit more.
They need help everywhere.
Yeah, it's true. They do. Hopefully, I believe Tanev was discharged from the hospital the other night as he was stretched off. Still no update on Chris Tanev. Hopefully he's okay and he gets better as the Leafs avoided a scare there on Saturday night. Marchand ended up scoring a goal with special meaning the other night, obviously with his close connections back in Nova Scotia, losing a family friend. All prayers up there for Marchand. And the only other news I have on the docket, Neil, Jacob Markstrom signs a 2-year extension with the New Jersey Devils at $6 million per year. The former Flame continuing to get his starts there out in New Jersey. You've seen him early on. Devils have gotten off to a good start so far. Let's talk Devils, Neil. Markstrom signs a 2-year deal extension. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean that was to be expected. We had been hearing it for months. I mean, even before Luke Hughes signed his long-term deal, the Devils were talking to Markstrom. They made it very clear after year one that Markstrom wanted to be here. He really enjoys playing in New Jersey. It's the place where he wants to be probably the rest of his career because by the time and the same thing with Jake Allen. Both of these guys are going to end up retiring as Devils. I think for a lot of people are going to cringe at the money, $6 million per year for those 2 years. It's not a bad. I'm totally fine with the whole deal as a whole.
I don't think it's that high. It really isn't.
And I think people have to understand that. Well, Markstrom has gotten off to kind of a slow start. He has a well over 4 goals against average and an under 900 save percentage. A lot of the goals he's given up are low danger opportunities where some bad luck, things not going the way. That's going to get fixed throughout the year. And he also came up a really good win, really good performance against the LA Kings where he stopped 40 of 41 shots. Looked a lot better. Here's the other thing I'll just say really quickly. What other opportunities are there out there right now where the Devils could have totally even more improved their goaltending? No, there's nothing out there. Because teams nowadays, if you got a really good goalie or two, you're not even attempting.
Just happened last month with Dustin Wolf.
Right, exactly, right? Yeah. So ultimately, for the Devils, you lock down your goaltending for the next 3 years. You're
moving the needle. You're pushing the needle forward. You are moving
the needle. Yes, you are moving the needle because you established that this is your goaltending.
And it's your time, right?
It's your time, exactly.
It is your time to still compete, because they're going to compete here in the East coming up.
Right. I mean, you start the year off 8-1. You come off a pretty rough road trip where you lost 3 out of 4 and didn't really all look that good. But you're still top of the division, at least for now. We'll see what happens with Pittsburgh later tonight. But you're still top of the division, and you're still one of the top 5 teams in the league. You're gonna go through some rough patches, but ultimately, at the end of the day, this is a team that's ready to contend. They need to add more. They need to get rid of Andre Palat. They need to move. They need to add a third line center. They need to add a top 6 winger with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt. But ultimately, going back to the Markstrom deal, I am totally fine with it. Really, totally fine with it.
Yeah, a lot of additions. I think, considering the teams that you see here in the top 6, at least here in the division, not excluding the wild card. If the trend continues this way here for New Jersey, you're going to want to probably go all in here at the deadline if you're going to do anything, right? Because you don't know Carolina and blah, 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 right?
Yeah, you got Carolina, who's
By
kind
the
of
way,
been
5-0 for your Devils at home.
5-0 at home, which is kind of a surprise, but a big test Thursday against Montreal. Huge test against them. And then you got
Yep.
Pittsburgh right after that. It like the schedule doesn't get easier, but ultimately the Devils finally get a break because they don't play again until Thursday.
Yep.
And they need it. And again, like you said, that freaking parity in the Eastern Conference, like
Crazy.
everybody laughs at Toronto right now. Haha, they're 6-5-1, 13 points, blah, 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 blah. They're 1 point out of a wild card spot.
It's crazy
Literally
because
1 point.
last place, I know it's super early. We're 1 month into the season, but from Montreal to Philly, it's a 5-point swing.
5 points.
That's it.
5 points.
Like, I think that has to be recognized. Like, everybody's still in it here, right? Lots
Yeah.
of time for teams like Detroit to maybe mess up, or Tampa, and then you see like Pittsburgh. Like, what's the longevity here for the Penguins? Looking at the wild card, you see the
They're
Blue Jackets and the
goaltending.
Rangers. Can the Senators turn this thing around? Are the Leafs
They're
going to find a way to turn this around here? What's Florida doing? Like, a lot of parity here. You're right, in
Oh,
the Eastern
big time.
Conference. Yeah,
Big
for
time.
sure.
And it's so funny if you go to like the entire league, who's in first place in the entire NHL? Colorado, who only has 7 wins, by the way, because they've been in so many overtime shootout games and be getting points, which good for them. I mean, good for them.
Pushing teams to OT, man. Sometimes you need every point.
Shoot, and you get Martin H now locked in long term. You got that
Yep.
deal done, which again kind of makes you wonder how they couldn't have gotten a deal done with Branson, but it doesn't matter now, obviously, because the money is not that different. But yeah, I mean,
yeah. So I mean, and so far too, I think the other surprise here has been the Utah Mammoth. They've been off to a sensational start. They're 4-1 at home. They're 7-3 in their last 10, 8-4 on the year with 16 points.
Logan Cooley is a machine.
Logan Cooley is such a machine. They locked him up long term. With the way that Minnesota and St. Louis are going, we had them in as the same wild card spots, but now Utah is really making, a very strong case here to try to get in.
I think the big thing for them, how much longer is this goaltending play going to last for them?
You can say the same thing about Anaheim too.
You can say the same thing about a lot of teams, honestly, in this situation. Like, look at Vegas, right? Vegas has so much top end talent. Their goaltending is suspect. I mean, Akira Schmid, while does have a really good record, his goals against average save percentage, not that good. Like
Vegas trying to fix that with Carter Hart. They're going to see, right?
Aiden Hill's going to be back. I think he's day to day now, so he'll be back.
I believe he is day to day. Yes.
So
Dallas, still, Dallas is going to be up there. They're still, it's going to be tough for Utah to compete with them. And Seattle's, they had a good start, but they've cooled down as of late here in Seattle. Chicago's hanging around a little bit here. Again, a lot of, you got a couple of teams still in the mix here trying to figure some things out here. Right. And then you've got the bottom of the West.
And ultimately ultimately at the end of the day, so much hockey left to play.
Lot of hockey.
Where we are December 3rd.
I remember reading something and they're like, guys, Flames are only 6 points out of a playoff spot. And everyone's like, shut up.
Shut up. They can go for all we know, Kyle, maybe they win all their games this week.
I'd hate myself if that was the case.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. We don't like Don Maloney as the owner here in Calgary anymore.
Gee, I wonder why that might be.
Not a fan. So, all right. I think that's it. Do you have anything else for today?
No, I mean, it's just it's kind of a quiet week, I think, for a lot of teams in the NHL for whatever reason. Like, I think we only have 3 games tonight, including
getting colder. Snow's starting to come in, starting to feel more and more again, like hockey's back. Even though it's been back for a month.
To me at this point, I don't really care. My teams are garbage. It is what it is.
Go Seahawks! Big night last night.
Seahawks got a big win last night, and let's keep our eye on the Wranglers a little bit more because I really like what I'm seeing so far.
Keeping our eye on the Wranglers. OHL, my Wolves, right at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. I think I haven't checked in a while, but
it's fun.
Yeah, might go to the game this Friday. I might.
I'm actually going to try for the first time. I'm going to watch an NBA game on the NBC because obviously,
I
hate it. Well, my team's playing, so like it's and they're going to get the crap kicked out of them because it's the Nets versus Minnesota in Brooklyn. It's going to be. Oh, the Nets haven't won a game yet, so like I'm having fun. I already.
Oh, great! Even better.
Oh, dude. Yesterday, what? Giants didn't win. Raiders didn't win. Devils got smoked. Nets got smoked. I had one of those like really bad sports days where like all of your teams get the living piss kicked out of them. So
I would argue that one team topped it all on Saturday night, and that would be the Blue Jays on my end. I think that maybe
yeah,
surpassed all of your struggles.
probably, yeah. I mean, my
Boy.
baseball team got knocked out a month ago, so what the hell do I care?
Yeah, true. Fair enough.
So
All right.
oh,
Good stuff as always. Good stuff. We'll be back next Monday, hopefully for some newer news, and we'll see what ends up happening the rest of the week here. Again,
new.
guys, Wednesday night at home against the Blue Jackets, Friday at home against Chicago, and then they'll be in Minnesota on Sunday. Good stuff as always, Neil, and we will chat
Likewise.
to everybody again next Monday, and I promise we'll be there. Sorry about last week. We'll see you next Monday. All right. Have a good week,
Yeah, guys.
everybody, and chat soon.